Hey y'all, I hope you're having a good day. I'm sitting out here in my garden because it's pretty out, and I just wanted to reach out to you because I have this idea I'm wanting to pursue. Um, as you may or may not know, I've been looking for a position for quite a while. I love problem solving and coming up with solutions to complex problems. I'm very analytical, and I think about like complex social issues a lot. And I've been striking out on the job search front. I just am not getting anywhere, and it has worn on me quite a bit. So I decided to try a little bit different tactic. Not necessarily to reach getting a position, but to fulfill that desire I have in me that I isn't being fulfilled. And so because of that, I've decided I want to try to start doing like videos with different ideas that I have, philosophies I have roaming around in my head that I have nothing to do with. I know, yeah, nothing to do to implement these ideas. And so that's why I'm creating this video to kind of talk about it. Quite a while back, I don't know, I would say last summer sometime, it might have been 7 months, might have been 10 months ago, I created a reel or video, I don't know what to call it, about how important it is to bring liberals and conservatives together because there's such a vast spread in opinions. I've done a lot of research recently on what causes people to have different political beliefs, and there are different schools of thought, and there have been different research that has been done. For earlier on, some research suggested that there is physiological differences within the brain of liberals and conservatives, but that has since been debunked. And now what I really feel, what I feel based on everything I've seen, that differences, the reason some people are liberal and some people are conservative, in my opinion, is because of the situations they were raised in, which seems obvious. But at the same time, I think we forget that because I think in our current political culture, it's easy to polarize two different sides and to say one side's good, one side's bad. And I feel that is very harmful because how do you know which side's good and which side's bad if both sides believe the other side is good and bad? So I feel like there has to be some level of truth to both sides. My philosophy on what makes a conservative frame of mind is that if you look at the demographic, conservative people tend to live in suburbia or the country, and if you think about it, my philosophy is we develop our political ideology based. We all are programmed to respond to fears in certain ways. We fear what's different because that is a safety mechanism within us to fear things that are different than us. If you think about it, if you're living in suburbia, what is different to you are people of different ethnic backgrounds, because our country was constructed that way. We had policy early on, like, related to people coming out of World War II, because there was systematic racism that provided motivation for people, our financial motivation for people to live in suburbia, and these benefits weren't provided to people of color and people who lived in urban populations. So it was created this way. Not the people, it wasn't by choice of the people that are living in suburbia. It was just higher beings decided to make it so white people tended to live in suburbia. And so if you're living in suburbia and the majority of people you interact with are white, your natural fear response is going to be to fear people of different nationalities and stuff. I'm not saying that you're doing this logically. It's all subconscious. Like, just like when you interact with a new situation, you feel scared, and then, but what we do with our brain is we try to justify that. So there's a lot of story building in our head around that. So it's easy to build this idea that people of different ethnic groups are dangerous. If you are receiving media that from people that look like you that are saying this, it is easy to believe that. So people in conservative areas, they tend to want to protect their immediate family and the people they know. That is who they care about. Whereas if you are liberal, people tend to be highly populated in urban areas. And if you think about the demographic of urban areas, you are forced to interact with people of different nationalities and backgrounds. Also, if you attend college, part of your curriculum is to learn about people of different backgrounds. And so what that does is that eliminates that fear of otherness. And liberals tend to not like higher sources of authority, like police, or they think there's more corruption in politics of leaders, and they fear systematic things. And if you really think about where that could come from, is if you're living in an urban neighborhood and you're interacting with a bunch of different people and you see certain groups of people repressed, you can see how you would develop fears of, authority figures. Just as one example of how political ideas are developed. Why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because I think that where we're at as a culture is we are blaming. We're in a blame culture. We keep blaming the other side. And it's important to understand that underneath all this political ideology is a person that is the same as you. It doesn't mirror you, it's just you're indoctrinated into this political belief structure that shapes how you view and see the world. And you have, as part of that, you develop groups of people that you interact with that have the same beliefs, and there is a lot of potential for loss in changing those beliefs. It feeds your emotional stability to see issues and problems with ideas that conflict with your ideology of how the world works. And so we have a population of people, I'm, as you all know, very liberal, that do not see the injustices that are happening that I see, because it doesn't serve them to see the injustices are happening. It is very hard. And if you are a good person and you built this whole ideology of the world, imagine that your entire ideology of how the world works is shifted. A perfect example of this is like veganism. How much do you want to resist like the idea of veganism? It contradicts with all your ideology of how the world works, how you eat, your interactions, who you interact with. It's very difficult to switch that ideology, because you're going to have to confront your close relationships. You're going to have to come to terms with how your ideologies have harmed society. You're going to have to, find a new group of people that accept you, even though you've believed some way for a different long time and may not know the correct terms to say, or things are the way to interact relating to a thing. It's a big hurdle to overcome. So we have to understand what we're working with when we're trying to build more commonalities between us, because the truth is, just like everything in life, different points of view are beneficial. We do not have the whole picture if we are not understanding a situation from points of view that are different than ours. Just like different ethnic groups are important in developing a policy, different opinions. We need different opinions, and what we're doing as a nation is we're deciding that opinion is just wrong. And so we're not seeing the whole picture, because I think it's important that we are able to see it from see different situations from various perspectives. So what do we do about this? I think we need to not just vilify people with opposing views than us. We need to listen to them and understand where they come from. We're not in a nation where varying points of view are respected and listened to and understood. And so I wanted to bring up a potential example of how I see something like this playing out in a beneficial way. And this is something neither side will ever agree on. But if you look at like abortion, let's say, when liberals are looking at abortion, it's not about the death of the child. It's about the freedom of the woman. When conservatives are looking at abortion, and I know I'm saying these in broad strokes, because in order to conceptualize something, you have to understand it in broad strokes. You can't get into the intricate differences that happen. I know they exist, but I'm talking about it just to understand how ideologies vary and the impacts they have on a situation. I just saw my first monarch butterfly. I wonder if I can zoom in on that. That's so exciting. Anyway, they represent change. So there you go. It's a good omen. Anyway, so what are we really upset? What are liberals really upset about? Are pro-choice people really upset about when it comes to abortion? They're worried about the life of the mother. They're worried about the potential child not having resources to pay for the child. They're worried about unsafe situations that the mother and child may be in, and they are worried about controlling the woman's body. Conservative are pro-life. What are they concerned about? They're concerned about the death of the child. Concerned about the death of the child. And perhaps going against the natural order of things. Perhaps, I don't know. But the idea of the death of the child. Now, I don't think you're ever going to change those opinions. But I do think there are common issues on both sides that would make the issue more digestible on either side. So what if you had the rights taken away from you to control your body and you had to have the child? Wouldn't it make it so much easier if there were social structures in place to take it? Wouldn't it make it so much less likely for people to have abortions if there were social structures in place to take care of, to provide child care, to provide? How much less abortion would there be if if it wasn't completely reliant on the mother to take care of the child with finances they did not have, without any support structures in place to provide them? That is something I think both sides could agree on. Now, we all get hyper fixated on the woman controlling the body, having control of their own body, and from the pro-life perspective of the child's death in their mind. We get hyper fixated on that, and we're just so hyper fixated on that we can't even see the big pictures where there can be collaboration involved. I'm willing to bet that people who are pro-life that don't want the child, they're imagining a beautiful home for this baby to go in. They want social support for that. That is something we could both come together on, and that would serve both sides, because it would make it so if we do have policy to protect pro-choice, there'd be a lot less people getting abortions if these social structures were in places. Almost everyone could agree on that. That is just an example of how I think it's important to bring various viewpoints together to come with a common solution, because truth be told, the earth exists for a long time. Nothing is ever the same. Policies are always going to change. There is probably going to be a back and forth of protecting the choice and protecting life. And either side is going to be miserable while that side is at play, but both have opinions that are valid to a degree. And wouldn't it be great that we created a world where there could still be some safety and protection regardless of your point of view? So I guess I'm just sharing this as potentially something to think about, something to consider when you are feeling frustrated with a various point of view. It might be good for us to start moving towards understanding where that idea comes from, and also to maintain relationships with people with varying perspectives than our own. Oh my goodness, that is my thought. I wish you all well, and let me know your thoughts and opinions. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.